this perspective and this mindset where, you know, black men aren't supposed to be responsible gun owners. They can only be irresponsible gun owners.
Right.
And I actually almost took that up as a mantle. I said, I want to change the image of how a black man with a gun looks in America.
Wow. What's up, guys? I'm John Keys.
Hey guys, and I'm sure Michael Singleton.
Dude, I'm so excited about this next interview.
Yeah, you know, I am too. It's not too many people who look like us that have been at this thing for almost 20 years with the reputation that this particular person has, the experiences from hosting the show, starting all the way in college. I mean...
Yeah, over a decade.
Over a decade, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's funny because I know a friend who knows this person. They went to school together.
You know a
Her
friend
and
that
I
knows almost everybody.
have had a lot of conversations about this guy, and she loves him to death, and she said nothing but positive things. And one of the first things that I thought was interesting when I first asked her about him, when I wanted an introduction, and she said, he's been at this since we were in college.
Right.
There was no one like us doing this. He was trying to pave a way, and it was not easy.
Here's the thing. I mean, it's absolutely apparent when you look at his body of work.
That's true.
And his breadth of knowledge as it pertains to firearms and the industry and the community. And over 500 million views on YouTube.
You're doing something right.
You're doing something right.
You're doing something right, guys. I mean, like, there's that old saying, you stand on the shoulders of giants. Well, we have one with us, Colion Noir. Colion, thanks for being here, bro.
Welcome to the
Absolutely,
show,
man. Absolute pleasure.
Man, you know, look, I'm gonna go all the way back to college.
All right, go ahead.
So, what sparked that interest for you? I mean, law school, you're a sharp brother, a brilliant guy. You could be in New York, you could be in Cali, you could be at a lot of places doing some really pivotal things in the legal realm. And for whatever reason, you was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this gun thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, the genesis is very simple. I had a friend of mine who asked me randomly one day, did I want to go to a gun range? And I initially was like, no. But then I stopped myself just short. I said, you know, I didn't grow up in a family background that had a firearm background. Actually, it was quite it was the opposite. So for me,
Like a lot of black families.
exactly, right? You know, for me, it was like the only people who had guns were police officers and dudes in the streets.
Yeah.
And so for me, I didn't want to project that image.
Yeah.
So I always kind of shied away from it. But when he asked me, I thought to myself, don't close yourself off to this experience, just go.
Yeah.
Right, you know? And so I decided to do that and went there. And I remember internally, I'm like, yo, this is weird. Because I'm like, I'm about to walk into this place with people with those guns everywhere, and they get to decide to shoot me anytime that they want, you know, things like that. And I remember walking in and hearing the first shots, and I'm like, I'm trying to keep my composure.
Yo, the first shots and first time going to gun range is hard.
You hear it, and especially when somebody cracks that door to the actual, and you hear the pop, 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 and you're like, oh, they really shooting in here.
This is for real. And it's legal, though. This is kind of crazy, right?
And it's like all types of people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So we get signed the form. This was at Top Gun in Houston.
Okay.
And so I remember exact lane, went all the way down to the last lane on the left.
Wow.
I remember my friend, he had a Taurus PT 111. I always butcher the name, I don't know why. It was a little subcompact 40. Right?
Snappy as hell.
Worst gun you ever saw in your
Oh
life.
my God, yeah.
So he showed me just the basic parameters of how to utilize the firearm. And I remember picking it up, remembering everything he did, pointed forward. I shot, I was like, oh, hell no. I was like,
He's like, I'm about to get out of here.
I was like, So I put it down, I remember putting it down, and I was like, all right. I composed myself, and then I picked it back up, and then I shot it again, and boom, it was love at first shot, second shot.
Yeah.
Love at second shot instantly.
Why? Why the love, though?
Because the first shot, I didn't know what
to expect, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
right? I couldn't really take it all in. The second shot, because it's an explosion.
Yeah, you don't know.
In your hand, right? The second shot, I was able to then process it. I'm like, yo, I'm containing an explosion in my hand, and that the nerdy, geeky side of me started coming out.
That's your attorney being very nuanced.
Right. And then I'm like, I'm launching a projectile, because I hooped, right? That was my first love was basketball. So, and I was known, you know, my business partner Mark can tell you, like, I was known, I'd come to the gym and just start launching from half court before Curry was Curry.
Oh,
that was my thing.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying I hit
Long
them
range.
like Curry did. Right?
Right.
But you were still straight out there.
I learned the secret to that is just launching with confidence. Because if you shoot from half court and you miss, you shot from half court.
Yeah.
If you hit, just walk away like you expected
Like
it.
you knew it. Like you knew it. It was a win-win regardless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'd always been fascinated with the long ball, and I think that kind of transitioned over into the shooting side. The idea of launching a projectile at 25 yards at the time, because I'm at the range, but it's progressed from there. Now I'm like shooting at 600 meters, at a mile, you know? And it's this little bullet, and you're hitting the small target. It's incredibly fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And so I remember from there, that little rabbit took off, and I followed him all the way down the hole. And I mean, this was like at the genesis, like where YouTube was still the Wild Wild West, right? And so there were a lot of gun content creators on there. And I remember I was consuming so much shit. I mean, constantly consuming. Every gun video, every magazine. That was like back in the day with like the Magpul Dynamic DVDs. Like,
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that was a thing,
bro. No joke. I would go to sleep to them. I would literally have them playing. I would go to sleep watching the Magpul DVDs. Wow. That's how deep I got into it. I just became so passionate about it. And so from there, I consumed so much content on YouTube that I felt like I'd reached the end of all the content on gun content on YouTube.
Right.
And as much as I credit a lot of those guys for facilitating that journey, there was a part of me that was like, man, I want to create videos that I want to create in my own way.
Yeah.
You know, that was my
Something
thing.
you would watch.
Exactly. And for me, I was a big car guy. Cars was my first.
And still a big car.
Still a big car.
That ain't changed. So I come up in the age of watching Top Gear car reviews, right? And how they did those things. And so for me, I wanted to create the same beautiful cinematic aspects of firearms the way they did with cars.
I definitely see that.
Yeah.
Yo,
Wow.
without question.
Exactly.
That's so interesting, man. Like our personalities are very similar to that. It's almost like you like to experience something a very specific way. Like if anybody looks at any of your content, they can see like you live a certain way, and it comes across clear in your content that is who you are, and that is a part of the experience you create for yourself.
Yes.
Because you know what you like.
Yeah.
So then that's rolled right into your content.
Exactly. Right. And for me, and I was like my whole persona, and I say persona only to communicate it effectively, but more or less it's just who I was.
No, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, like I enjoy certain aspects. I'm a city boy, right? And so a large part of the people who creating content were doing it from the perspective of growing up with firearms.
Yeah.
You know, hunting in the rural
right.
area.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I titled myself initially coming out the gate, the Urban Gun Enthusiast. I didn't realize everybody was gonna automatically assume it just meant I was black. I meant just from a city standpoint. I'm like, I'm a guy who grew up in the city, and so I call myself the Urban Gun Enthusiast. But everybody was like, yeah, the urban black, black guy.
Black guy with a gun, right? Black guy with a gun, baby.
Okay.
Right.
But I mean, the idea that I was one of few in the space wasn't lost on me.
Yeah.
Right. I was very aware of it. I mean, even to the point where I had a friend of mine. Actually, one of my first videos. My first videos were actually done in my friend's apartment because he was getting in photography, right? And so he had all the equipment and stuff like that. And so I went over there and I was like, all right, man, I'm going to do these tabletop reviews, right? Because I started off doing the tabletop reviews. That's what
Everybody starts off doing, man.
It's so funny, man. I think honestly, because I partnered with him, like I skipped that
Kinda
part.
accelerated
Because
that part?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you right now, if it was just me, it would have been tabletops. It would have been tabletops because I was already there, and I can show you some footage you've never seen of
You
a
doing
couple
tabletop?
of a couple
You gotta
tabletops.
show me this.
I will have to,
I have to
I'll have
see
to show it.
this.
Yeah, for real.
I was saying, I really low key want to delete them because the first ones were embarrassing.
Dude,
Like, they were
Colion,
terrible.
I literally was
Leave
late.
them up. Leave them up.
Sherm, I was in bed at the hotel last night thinking about that. I was like, I think it's time to delete some of these early videos. I really do. I really was
Leave 'em
thinking.
up.
I don't know,
As
Sherm.
we keep growing,
I might
so
not
people
have
go
go
back and see the
There is something
progression.
to be said about allowing people to see your progression. Because
Yeah,
that was a big
man,
thing for me
absolutely.
too. Because what I didn't want to communicate was that I'm this firearms expert. I'm not.
Right. Same.
I'm just an enthusiast.
And we're very transparent about
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's important.
And I wanted people to grow with me. I mean, you can go watch some videos now. I remember I had my first IDPA match up there. I couldn't hit a still target for nothing. Like I'm sitting, I'm like, bang, what is going on? Which started kind of like my real tumultuous relationship with Glocks. Just because, and not that they're bad firearms, it's just from my body mechanics, they don't just work for me.
They
the
don't
same way
work for
some
me
other
either,
guns.
bro. I gotta angle those things to get it right.
Which is still weird because it's like I will always have a 19.
Yeah.
I will never not be without a 19.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But so from that perspective, I I started doing those tabletop videos, and I remember him telling me, he was like, he was very helpful with it, but he was just like, it's like the gun industry community is not going to accept a black gun guy.
Black guy was doing guns.
Yeah, and I was like,
yeah.
I don't care.
Right.
For me, it was, I've always walked kind of the beat of my own drum. So I'm like, if they do, they do. They don't, they don't. Right. And so I started putting out videos and started getting deeper into the community. And I never had any, of course, it's the internet, right?
Yeah.
So there was some kind of, place
You
comments
can
here and
always
there.
get those people.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure. But by and large, that was not my experience.
So at what point, Colion, did you decide you're on this path of law school? Clearly, you're a sharp guy. A very sharp guy from what friends that we know have said about you. At what point did you decide, you know what, I don't want to go this more corporate professional route. I'm gonna go this route of an entrepreneur trying to build this gun thing that I don't have no idea where this is going. Like, when did you make that transition?
The NRA.
Wow.
So
Okay.
my whole goal was, like, this was never supposed to be a big part of what I did. This was supposed to be, I was gonna be like, make a bunch of money being a lawyer.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
This
do
would be a
the
hobby.
gun stuff on the side,
Yeah.
right? And I remember getting a phone call from someone at the NRA, and they were like, hey, we would like to stay in NRA, want to fly you out to have a conversation with you, working together. I was like,
Right.
NRA.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking I'm being trolled, or it's somebody trying to set me up, because it was
Right,
during
right.
that period of time where
Oh,
the gun
yeah.
debate was very tumultuous. Everyone
Yeah.
kind of had these conspiracy theories.
Yeah, you
So-
thought you were like going to be an angle.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought they were trying to set me up to kill me.
Oh,
That's
Lord.
talk about delusions of grandeur. But, so I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I talked to a couple of people, and then I figured, okay, let's just go.
Yeah.
Right? So I went and I met with them, and it was a great experience as far as the meetup. And they said, look, we just want to put together, I remember it was like a series of 6 to 12 videos.
Yep.
Because now at this point, I've kind of run deep into the political discussion about firearms.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they're like, we want to do like 6 to 12 videos, straight to camera, like you do. Basically, we just want to brand them NRA. And they're like, you just do your thing that you've always been doing.
Yeah,
So I scripted all of them, and then I delivered them to camera. Probably not the smartest thing to do in the world, considering I was studying for the bar.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't dive too deep into that. But
Right.
so I did that, and the videos did well. When they first released it, this was the first time that they had put a frontward-facing black person from the NRA, right?
Yeah.
Publicly like that. And this was my first foray into this the broader political conversation about firearms in this country. And remember, I was in Virginia Beach, and they had just released the first video stating that there was going to be a series of videos that I was going to be doing. And I remember sitting in Virginia Beach. I had a couple drinks in me. I was just kind of hanging out, and I was with some of the people at the NRA, and I get a tweet. This is when Twitter was just popping off too.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I get a notification, and it's like, what's his face from? I can't believe I forgot his name. From Def Jam.
Oh, Russell.
Russell. Yeah. So Russell Simmons tweets me,
Uh-oh.
and I'm like, now I've never gotten this type of attention at
I was
all.
just about
Right?
to-
I was
So
about
this
to
is
ask
like
you
a first
this.
innocuous little black guy over here playing with guns.
Yeah.
So I get this tweet from Russell Simmons, and he's kind of chastising me a little bit, kind of like trying to lowbrow me a little bit.
Don't let them use you.
Yeah,
kind
like,
of
why
thing.
would you do this?
Oh,
and
yeah.
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't know there was anything wrong with self-defense in the 2A. Like,
Right.
it was so pure. Like, it was in my mind.
You're
like,
not even thinking about all these other layers to it.
exactly.
Yeah,
What are you talking
yeah.
about? So at this point, I started responding. So we started engaging back and forth a little bit. But what Russell didn't realize was, like, I had already cultivated an audience. So in his mind, he thought I was just somebody they found on the street, put a hat on him and said, talk, boy.
Yeah.
Right?
He didn't know what
He
was
didn't
coming
know.
next.
Exactly. So now Simmons is starting to get retweets from other people who follow me and him. And they were like, I mess with you, Russ, but I also mess with Colion Noir too.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of wrong about him in this sense.
You're seeing this in the
Exactly,
wrong way.
Yeah. And so inevitably he kind of backed off. He's like, no, I don't want to get into a fight with you, young man. He kind of, because he realized what he stepped into. And so from there, that kind of was like, that was the genesis of like me really deep sea diving into this, being the frontward facing voice. For all intents and purposes, I was the spokesperson of the NRA. Because that's what people saw the most, but people didn't realize I was never the spokesman. I was never officially the spokesperson of the NRA.
Right.
But I still had all the responsibilities, the negativity that comes with all of those things.
Yeah.
And so I was getting a lot of heat, especially from people in my community, right? Because there was that perception there that like, no, it's just a bunch of racist people.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Was it more about the organization and less about the guns?
It was
Yeah.
more about the organization, the affiliation with the
surprised
organization.
by that, yeah.
Because of, the historical context, so forth and so on. Now, ironically enough, what it did, and I'm thankful of, it allowed me to do a deep sea dive into the historical context of the organization.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is not true. There's some aspects to it that I'm just kind of like, yeah, y'all dropped the ball on that. And I made that known.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and I always did my best to be honest about where I stood and then who I was dealing with and then what they may or may not have done. But it was definitely hard, especially not even just publicly, but even in my personal life.
Oh,
Right.
dude, I know.
Yeah.
I know from experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It got a little dicey sometimes, like to the point where at one point, like, because I started posting more gun content on my Instagram stuff. So it's like all of my law school friends, all our friends.
They're like,
because
what
of-
the hell
yeah,
is
what's
going
going
on?
on? Like,
Yeah,
people
what
were
is
hitting
this?
They were hitting up like, hey, you want to check on cause? Posting a lot of guns lately
Yep.
and stuff like that. So a point where I was like, all right, enough of this. I just made a separate page. That's when the Colion Noir Instagram page started. And so that's how that all happened. And so, I was dealing with that aspect of it, but then too, at the same time, like even my mom then had no clue what was going on. Like she didn't even know I had guns in the house. Because I'm still in law school.
Yeah.
So I'm living at home.
Right.
And so I remember I bought my first AK, first rifle, period. And I remember I'm hiding it under the bed. I'm hiding the gun boxes in my closet. Like, because, I don't want to freak her out. She has no context for any of this.
Yeah.
So in her mind, for all she knows, I'm either drug running, gun running, or killing somebody.
Yeah.
And so
I can imagine a black mom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, you lost your effing mind.
Right. What are you bringing that in this house for?
She would've- to this day, I don't even know how she initially found out. I can't remember. But I think it had been going on for so long, and I had so much context now to provide. Hey, Mom, this is what I've been doing. That it was kind of like she didn't really like it. I mean, honestly, truth be told, I don't think she still likes it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But she respects it.
Yeah.
Of course.
She respects
Yeah.
it. So from that perspective, it's like dealing with. It was a lot. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I definitely had to develop thick skin really, really fast.
Yeah, I
like
would
really
imagine.
fast.
Boy.
And yeah.
That's an
Now,
understatement.
now, was that more about dealing with people like in public in real life, or on the internet, or a combination of both?
It was a combination of both. I think the in real life aspect of it hit me a little bit harder because I mean these are people that I've known and I've grown up with and people who know me
It's
in real life.
exactly what I
You know
meant
what
too,
I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. So that hit me a little bit hard, but as time went on, I mean, like I said, I had to develop thick skin.
Yeah.
But I also used it as a way to kind of sharpen my advocacy skills.
Oh.
Because the way I kind of approached it, I thought, okay, if I can get these individuals and these people to understand why I am the way that I am with respect to this issue, then that's just going to make me a better advocate.
Yeah.
In general.
And
Yeah.
so, me going to law school, I did it largely because I love the idea of being the advocate for people.
Right.
Who couldn't be an advocate for themselves. So I'm like, I'm doing the same thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Just different content.
Just sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's literally it.
Rule number
Wait, so
one.
I wanna go back there. I wanna unpack the human side of this a bit more
Okay.
because people know the guns, they know the cars, all the other cool stuff. But what was that experience like for you when you're hearing from the girlfriend at the time, from the friends at the time, like, man, we don't know about this. People in our community who look like us and they're just saying, bro, like, what are you doing? Talk about how that felt. I mean, I know, but unpack that.
I thought it was unfair. The reason why I thought it was unfair is because my mind went, okay, so let me get this straight. If I was a street dude and I was into the guns like this, it would be perfectly fine. It would make sense.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna tell me, well, no, we chastise them too. No, because y'all are dating the same dudes. You don't have a problem with them
A lot
carrying
of the
guns.
women like those
Exactly.
dudes.
Yeah.
So when I start carrying firearms, but then also, and I do it responsibly, and I talk about the safety aspect of it, and I talk about it from the political side, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And that weird, it didn't make sense to me. It didn't gel. So it went from a feeling bad and ashamed to kind of developing a chip on my shoulder in a sense, right? And so then I was like, all right, y'all don't want me doing this, I'm gonna lean into it harder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which was fine because I was already passionate about it. So leaning into it was nothing.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And the more I started leaning into it, the better I got at communicating my advocacy, communicating my positions on this issue. And it was still pretty hard and people still didn't want to, I mean, this is generational, right?
Yeah.
You know, this perspective and this mindset, where you know black men aren't supposed to be responsible gun owners. They can only be irresponsible gun owners.
Right.
And I actually almost took that up as a mentor. I said, I want to change the image of how a black man with a gun looks in America.
Wow.
Right? That was kind of like, it was an unspoken kind of goal of mine, because what I was learning also at the same time is there were a lot of dudes who were like me, but they were hush about it.
Yeah.
They didn't want to talk about it because they understood the backlash that would come from it.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I was like, I wanted to create an environment where guys like me started to feel safe speaking out about it, which honestly, and be honest with you, not to kind of stroke you guys' ego, but you all kind of embody that. You know, being able to see you guys do what you do with Guns Out, I'm like,
thank you, man.
Appreciate that,
work's
bro.
done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because now I'll go places now. I got dudes look just like me. Hey, y'all love your stuff, man. Things like that.
Yeah.
And now I think there's more of an image of now where like black man responsible gun owner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's no longer being monopolized by the idea of street life.
Right.
Right. And even that dynamic, I understand it.
Because there is that
There is
dynamic that's
dynamic.
growing now
without
too.
question.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, and I get it and I understand it. And to a degree, you could say I even facilitate it based on the music I listen to.
Yep.
Right?
I think that
Yeah.
we all
We're all guilty of that.
So there's that aspect. You know, I even remember doing an episode with the NRA where I was talking with another guy about it. You know, just how much of a part am I playing? Because I can talk this responsible gun ownership stuff all day long as a black man, but then I'm listening to music that facilitates us the
opposite.
opposite of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, how much of a role do I play in that, right? And it's still not something I completely rectified because I grew up in the trap era, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I never sold drugs in my life, but I grew up listening to Jeezy, and Jeezy was a motivator for me. And people are like, why? How is Jeezy motivated? You're not a street dude. You never sold drugs. It was the mentality of the hustler. Like that let me go, okay.
Yeah.
For me, my school was a hustle. You know, me becoming what I wanted to do was a hustle. Like all of those things, it drove me, and that music propelled that.
Yeah.
And I disassociated the actual street component of it. But it's easy for me to say that because I was a lot older and able to do that. You start talking about these younger kids out here, and now they're living in the environment. And listening
It's
to
their
the
life.
music.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how or even can I make that distinction?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's something that I kind of deal with from time to time. But nonetheless, I do feel happy, at least, with whatever contributions I may have to allowing there to be a space for the perception of black men with firearms to be considered not monopolized by this street culture, so to speak.
You know, the one thing that I've learned in this whole journey is the importance of mindset, right? And what you just said really kind of drove that point home. And I think that we all can relate to that because, like, funny thing, you know, when Sherm sends me a song every now and again, I'll be like, wow, okay, okay, bro. That's what I'm talking about.
Even sometimes, like, I'm not gonna lie, there are some songs I'm like, man, I want to post it with this video. I was like, I can't post this.
I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of
buddy.
how much of a disappointment is that sometimes, though? Because it's so fitting.
That's why I
sometimes.
post it with my workout stuff and not the gun stuff. So I try to still.
You sneak it in there wherever you sneak it in where you can. But like to me, I feel like more young people specifically in the era and the generations that are coming behind us, like they need to realize the way that we still embraced those things, but we turned it toward the things that mattered to us.
Yeah, like can you turn it into a positive?
Can you turn those things into a positive, right? Because you can find the good in any message. To be honest,
really
with you.
can.
You can always
Really
find the
can.
good in any message, and it's just like I'm glad you said that because not enough people openly admit to that type of thing, right? They, you know, and when somebody looks at you and how polished you are, and look at you and how polished you are,
Like,
they
you
would
listening to what?
Oh, I know.
he sent me some 2 Chainz stuff. I was like, sure, somebody stole your phone.
What's crazy is the weird thing too is like now what's happening is like a lot of the same rappers I listening to are sending me messages like, yeah, watch your
I
stuff,
watch
I
your
love your
stuff,
stuff.
man. That's crazy.
It's nuts. It's it's surreal in a lot of ways.
No,
right?
it really is, man.
But I mean, nonetheless, though, I think that's a good thing though too because
It is.
you know, and some of these dudes are younger, but that means okay, you're consuming my content and my message from the vein and the light that I'm presenting it.
Yeah.
Right. So at that point, that tells me, all right, you're getting the responsible side of it. You're not getting the ignorant side of it.
And they're knowing, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we, shot with or talked with guys that are more urban and in their culture, and they're talking about the type of guns.
Yep.
Yo,
They
man,
know all the
so
nuances of
much.
ammunition.
Yep.
They're like, man, I want to start competing. And you would look at these people from
you're
the
saying,
outside, and
yeah.
you're like, okay, some people may think this is the kind of person that's going to cause a problem.
Yeah.
And this person's knowledgeable as hell.
They're just they just have an urban aesthetic.
That's right.
You know, it's so interesting because, Sherm, man, he made such a good point. Last year, we went to Chopper Day, Mark Chopper's Chopper Day in Maryland.
I loved it.
And he's actually, Chopper Day is today.
It is.
Right? It's
We're
going on
missing
right
it,
now. We went last year, and, for us, it was very important to bring our brand, our aesthetic, our professionalism, and our dedication to that event.
Yeah.
And, we kind of wondered how it would be received and whatnot, but man, when we got there, dude, man, I sighted in like 5 people's pistols. I sighted in like 5 people's red dots. People were asking us, like you said, about, competing, how do we get into it? And then we facilitated a competition. Man, those people really embraced everything they could get from
They're
us.
like sponges, man.
And what that told me in that moment was that, like, the interest is there.
Yeah.
We just gotta show up.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, you're not lying. And I've had the exact same experience anytime I've actually shown up. Right. Now I'm only one person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and I do tend to wear myself thin a lot of times. But at the same time, I do think I think there's a lot of progress that's been made in that front. There's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
There's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
But I think it's compounding interest, right? It's like so I started doing what I do. You guys are doing what you're doing now. We'll link up, start doing stuff together. It'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I think from there, at a point, we'll reach a point of massive growth where it's just like now, it's just gun owners.
Yeah.
That's
right?
it.
Yeah.
It's just
No,
gun
no
owners, right?
distinctions are
No
necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that feel like, though, for you knowing that there is sort of like a mantle above your head, especially from a lot of people who look like us, because you are the first, for a lot of guys, iteration of someone who looks like them that's doing this. The level of responsibility that comes when you're the first in anything is significant. What does that feel like for you?
It was heavy, but I understood, as my mom always said, you made your bed, now lie in it.
Yeah.
Right? So I always knew I could not afford to mess up.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
And some people waiting
It kept
for
you
the
honest,
mess up,
probably.
hoping for the mess up.
So technically speaking, in terms of my journey, I probably didn't have as much fun as other people might have had if they were in the same. Because
yeah.
I was
I know
so
this guy can
guarded.
relate.
Yeah.
So guarded about what I would allow myself to do, not do, how I maneuvered. Everything was centered around this idea that, like, I can't mess up, because if I do, it's not just me. It's that entire image. And so I knew, unfortunately, that it's something I was going to have to take on, whether I wanted to or not.
So you were bracing yourself. If I'm going to do this, all the sacrifices that are about to come, because this is now bigger than me.
Yeah.
Because there are some people that are going to hope. I hope he fails. So I can say, see, they don't want us in this, or this isn't for us, or this was never going to work. You knew that.
Yeah, I knew that. I won't say I knew it going in, but I knew it pretty quickly once I was in it.
And how quickly did that happen? Was it like an overnight thing, or did it gradually get like larger than life? How did that?
It kind of happened in chunks. Like it would be kind of smooth sailing, something would happen, boom, and then so like more and more I would start to realize how big and prominent and powerful my platform was.
Yeah.
And then how much responsibility was on my shoulders.
Right.
And it's stressful, I ain't gonna lie. It's it's
I
stressful.
can imagine.
Yeah.
Because
but-
you're like attacking it from a space that we don't even attack it from, that legal aspect
Exactly.
of it.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
like that.
and the scariest thing for me is that I have powerful enemies I don't know I have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
oh,
sure.
yeah.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
and really what really brought it to my attention where I knew it was real is when this website, in an attempt to expose me, because they thought just like Russell Simmons thought I was fake. They thought they just found me somewhere and then curated me and then said, hey, go out and do this stuff for the internet. So in an attempt to do that, they put all of my personal information, they doxed me essentially.
wow.
Yeah, doxed me. I mean, but in their attempt to dox me because I'm a junior, they doxed my dad, they doxed my mom, they doxed anybody related. Like, and so I'm like, I even reached out. I'm like, hey, you can dox me, but I'm
But
like,
why are you bringing my family?
yeah,
into
like my
this?
mom lives by herself.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, at least get rid of her. Like, my dad's cool with it. My dad's like, I ain't worried about them people.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? But my mom, like, she lives by herself. At least they wouldn't even do that.
Wow.
They wouldn't even take down, and they're like, no, we're gonna expose you. And I'm like, and to this day, I'm just like, that's when I knew. I'm like, all right, so now the way I move and the way that I do certain things, I gotta be very careful. Very careful.
Talk about, Colion, the level of sacrifices that one has to make when you're going through something like that. I mean, who you're hanging out with,
Yeah.
where you're going, who you're dating. I mean, all of those things you
All of
have
that
to be
plays a part.
cognizant of.
Very much so.
Talk about that, because I don't think regular people necessarily understand what that sacrifice is like.
Yeah.
One, I always have a gun on me. Ain't no more fighting.
Yeah.
I can't fight.
Yeah.
I can't get in arguments, like nothing that could go from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
So that means, like you pointed out, who I hang out with.
Yep.
I can only hang out with certain people. I
Yep.
can't go to certain clubs. Back in college, like early parts of college, man, I was going to clubs where like, somebody was getting shot every 2 days.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it was stupid, but you know, you're young and you're
You're
dumb.
young,
right?
yeah,
You know,
man.
you're like, just like, oh, I'm invincible. I'm gonna go here, they gonna shoot me. But, you know, that can't happen anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So certain friends that I hang out with, I probably can't really hang out with them anymore just because not so much that they were doing bad things. They just didn't understand what I couldn't do. You know what I mean? Certain things, certain ways that I can't maneuver. So slowly but surely, I started to become more isolated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that whole lonely at the top thing is real.
It's really real, yeah.
From even from the female side of things, right? I have guns. I
Yeah.
have a lot of them. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Ain't no arguing with a chick.
Yeah, all it takes
There's-
is one
yeah,
to,
there's
well,
no-
I felt.
It's like,
and then everything starts
like,
crumbling.
hey, you got it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's none of that. So
Yeah.
I have to be incredibly discerning about the temperament and mentality of whatever chick I deal with.
Yeah.
So it can become incredibly isolating. Now, the one thing I will say is that I've been blessed with having great people.
Yeah.
The people who are in my circle are phenomenal.
They're
and
protecting you. They're looking out.
They,
Yeah,
and they
that's
will look
important.
out for me. They'll watch my back, you know, even when I don't even realize they're watching my back.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed in that regard. So it makes all the sacrifices worth it.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, there are definitely sacrifices in that regard.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of it in the way of that isolation.
Yeah, you know, I mean, listen, man, we all, when you start to become an advocate for firearms, a lot has to change about the way that you do things, just like you said. And you also have to make sure that you project that onto other people.
Yeah.
Because what I noticed is that a lot of my friends that were doing things a certain way as it pertained to firearms, like they really are taking things a lot more serious. I become their gun guy.
Yeah.
You know, and I enjoy being people's gun guy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm saving them money. I'm teaching them how to do things the right way. And as of lately, I've really been taking up this position of getting people formally trained. And it's always been important to me because I feel like people think training is just so you can become like a John Wick behind the gun. They don't even realize it's gonna enhance their overall range experience. They're gonna feel a lot more confident. And I feel like the more trained you are, it also gives you more of a calm because now you know you have measured your area of expertise and capabilities with the firearm. So now it's like, I know how much time I need to buy myself. And I know when, okay, we're at the moment where now I can, my 2 second, my 1 second, my sub-second draw is gonna be helpful.
And the crazy thing is, I've always told people, I said, look, to become exceedingly good with a firearm takes a lot of work.
It surely does.
To become adequate,
Yeah.
it's not that hard.
Not that.
It's not that hard.
And people think that it's really, really
Yeah.
hard, but the fundamentals, man, you can get there and you can do the bare minimum and you can keep that in a
Yeah, and you're
polished-
proficient enough to defend yourself effectively.
100%.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is that it's not really going to stop there, especially if you go with somebody. And that's been our bread and butter. It's like our competitive spirit. We push each other.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, I know for a fact that
I saw it firsthand when we did the.
right.
Oh,
When we did the thing in Georgia. I'm gonna ask you a question. So, were you surprised by that? That when you saw us shoot, that we knew that when you saw we could shoot? Because a lot of people say that they are surprised.
So I can take I can figure out whether or not somebody can shoot based on what they do within the first 5 seconds of picking up a gun. The way you handle it, your demeanor, everything. I can instantly tell that you're at least adequate at shooting.
Yeah.
Because there's subtleties in the way that you can maneuver a firearm. Like you can see when somebody's kind of slightly uncomfortable, even if they're trying to look like they're not.
Right. No, for
I
sure.
can kind of tell. So it's like looking at the fine motor skills, things like that. And I've seen you guys handle guns. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. Yeah. And honestly, like, if you can't, like, the weird thing is people think, like, you get into guns like staccato, that, like, you do it because you can't shoot.
Yeah, no.
The only people who really
You
get into
can't
guns like
fake
that are
that.
people who shoot.
Right, right. You're not going
because you can't appreciate the distinctions
Right.
unless you are a shooter.
Right.
And so,
right.
no, so to answer your question, no.
You know, it's
I
funny
wasn't
because
surprised.
one of the things I always like when you get to shoot with people that you watch, you cannot fake that.
Nope.
Like, I mean, you can do all the editing
Nope.
magic
Nope.
with the
Yeah.
video.
Cannot fake it.
But when you're on
Yeah.
that range, man, you're either hitting the targets or you're not.
Yeah.
And the one thing that really, you can kind of maybe get away with it with a handgun. Once you get on that rifle,
Oh, yeah.
and you're doing dynamics all
Yep,
that,
nope.
yeah.
Yeah,
That tells me
it's a
everything
wrap.
I'll know within a heartbeat. I'm like, oh,
I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna say any names, but we did something last year with some other guys that we all know and definitely respect.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. I mean, some of these guys, you know, I really like.
Yep.
And we get there, and one of the guys said, "Hey, well, we're gonna do some competition stuff now with pistol and AR."
Yep.
And we won.
Yeah.
And I was surprised
Yeah,
because
no,
some of the
seriously.
guys I've watched for years, man, and I thought like, oh, this guy, they're about to blow us through.
Yeah.
Colion, it just shocked me, bro.
I'm telling you. So the one thing about me is, and the one thing I can tell about you all, and I think a lot of it comes down to like just inherently being athletes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's a
like-
good point.
When you are somebody who has like some type of athletic background, I don't care if it's high school, whatever, and you maintain that ability to a degree, you become a shooter. You don't just become a gun enthusiast.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
become a shooter, and you
Yeah.
become
Keep
obsessed.
going and going.
Yeah. So you want to shoot. And whereas a lot of people, I won't say a lot of people, but there's some people who they're just gun enthusiasts. I don't mean that pejoratively. I'm
Yeah,
just
of
saying
course.
they are more gun enthusiasts than they are shooter.
Yeah.
I'm more shooter than gun enthusiast.
Yep.
And so they don't shoot as much as people may assume.
Yeah.
Right?
And I realized that
Exactly.
in real
You know, I'm
time.
not gonna lie to you. I gotta be honest. It's a little disappointing sometimes when you think somebody's a shooter and they're not.
Well,
can
I
see that.
remember I could not let that
no,
go.
and you-
I was
you
so
still
I was
can't
just-
let it go.
I was so confused. I was like, how is this possible?
Now, a lot of
it's
people
a-
think I can't shoot. Largely,
I can see that
Yeah.
because
No,
you're
no,
doing the
no,
legal stuff
yeah,
and the
100%.
political
exactly,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
And then also too, I had my first videos up where I couldn't shoot.
Bro.
So, and then I haven't really put like, and even some of my close friends are like, dude, you need to put more training videos because people realize think you can't shoot.
Yeah.
And I'll go to some courses and they're like, oh, damn, you can shoot.
Yeah. I can run a gun.
I'm like, well, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I like when I do my gun videos, like we're out there shooting.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
really
yeah.
shooting.
And I treat, even though like, so for instance, if I'm doing B-roll, like even though I'm shooting B-roll,
Yeah, you're
I'm
still hitting the
every
target.
shot is a rep.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
I'm making sure my sights are aligned every shot. Even if I'm shooting into the berm,
Yeah.
I'll
yeah.
shoot the first shot and I'm like, repeat that, hold that there. Hit the same spot each time on the berm if it's something where we're just mag dumping into the
Yeah.
berm. So I'm getting my reps in. So I'm shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily a video. I mean, we're like 400, 500
Bro,
rounds
I was
per
just
video.
I was just about to ask you that, man. Like, so how long is your B-roll? Because your B-roll is mind blowing.
it
I'm
is.
talking about
It is nice.
it's like you and Grantham. You and Grantham have the most compelling B-roll, but the difference is Grantham's B-roll is all up front. But your B-roll
Goes
is
throughout,
up front
yeah.
and it's all throughout
Throughout,
the
yeah.
video,
So
man.
it's the funny thing is like I love Garan's openers.
Oh, his
They're
openers are crazy.
freaking beautiful and awesome.
Yeah.
And honestly, they kept me because I started getting a little lazy. I started getting a little lazy. I was like, all right, you know, I can kind of get away with doing this. I'll just walk and talk and shoot because I don't need that long to give an opinion about a firearm.
sure,
yeah.
I've handled so many of
So
them.
many of them,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can honestly a box of ammo. I can tell you everything I need to know about that gun,
yeah,
except
sure.
for like long-term reliability.
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But it's for me, it's art form. I like the art in it, right?
Yeah.
And so the B-roll stuff, we got it down to kind of a system now.
I've
it's
noticed a
definitely
change
a system,
over
bro.
the past maybe
Yeah.
year, 2 years.
Yeah.
I've noticed a drastic change
'Cause
in your videos now.
So I went from, so at one point I was doing like just straight voiceover, B-roll, entire stuff. And then the problem with that is that those take a long time.
Yeah.
Right? They take a long, thing is I'm a writer too.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
we
talked
can
about
tell.
this.
We
yeah.
can tell, bro.
So I like writing. Now, one thing that frustrates me is I can't talk off the cuff the way I write. And it frustrates me because, but if you think about it, it makes perfect sense.
I'm the same way, bro.
Get you on some more camera time,
That's what I'm about to say. He can talk like he can write, and it annoys the hell out of me.
The problem with me is I communicate with analogies.
Right.
So when I'm writing, sometimes I'm looking for so I have what I call the Obama problem. So anytime I speak, I'm constantly searching for the perfect word. I have the word, but I'm also trying to find the better word. And then the better word.
You're weighing words against words.
You can do that when you write.
Yeah. And it's like, Collins, you could have said that simpler. But I'm like, no, I want that word, right? But then sometimes I can't recall it fast enough, so then I have to default to that. But then you get that like Obama pregnant pause, right? And people thought it was like, oh, he does it for nah, he's searching for words.
The perfect word.
But so what I started doing was combining it. So like I have the B-roll shots now, and I talk straight to camera. Now the beautiful thing about talking straight to camera is the same way I have a problem talking straight to camera the way I write. Also now too, I can communicate enthusiasm better talking straight to camera than I can't in writing.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, so I'm trying to find that perfect balance. And also I want to go back to doing more concept videos. Like I remember I was doing like 5 types of people at the gun range and things like that. Those videos I want to start doing
really
again.
cool.
Because I used to do them quite a bit. And then between the political side and the gun review side, they take up so much time. And those I have to write. I have to write those.
You got it.
I have to write those. I mean,
you cannot miss the details on those.
Dude, I gotta make a confession, man. Let me tell you something. So like when you said you was getting lazy. You can ask Sherm about this. You know, when we started coming,
I was wondering if you were gonna. I know where you're going. Go ahead. I know where this is going.
So when we started to really ramp up and start to be more and more creative about the concepts of our videos and stuff, you know, we were always, I mean, bro, it's easy for somebody to look to you for a comparison, right? So I was like, one day I just went on, I was like, let me look at Colion's latest video. So I went and I looked, and it was one of those videos where you literally, for 10 minutes, all you did was just walk down the range with the gun in your hand and you talk to the camera. And I went back to Sherm, I was like,
we talked about it.
We can get it.
We talked about it. We definitely talked about it.
No, I get it. No, I grew up competitive. So everything is like, for me, I'm always comparing my stuff. Always. Because that's the only way you're gonna stay sharp. Otherwise, you're gonna get lazy. You're gonna get lazy. So that, I'm like, have at it, like, shit. Because I guarantee you, I'm like, okay, well, I gotta step my game up, right? That's the way I look at it.
Oh, sure. You don't even understand. I was so enthusiastic about it, though. I was for real. Like, I was like, oh, we gonna get him.
Let's get him while he's lazy. We had a long convo about that.
And then 2 weeks later came the Uber B-roll and all the angles.
It was so crazy because we talked about it, and I was like, I wonder if he saw it. Remember we had the whole conversation about that.
We did.
The one thing I will say this, and I think I got this from my mom. I can't stay lazy for long. That inner voice will kick in one way or another. And my business partner can tell you, like, I'm never happy. Ever. And so you can say it's a gift or a curse, but I'm never happy with anything that I do. I'll look at it and I'm like, damn, that's like, I could have done that better. Or I'm like even I feel bad for my videographer because I'm
very talented.
I'm like constantly changing perspectives. I'm like, all right, maybe we start doing it like this, right? And then let's try to get this shot. And then conceptually, let's do this. And then stuff like that. And he's like, bro, and I guess, that's why he's so awesome, because he's down. But I can also see his face sometimes. I'm like, here we go again. He's like, here goes Collins again with these ideas, right? And then the messed up part is sometimes he'll pitch me ideas and I'm like,
and they're
actually good ideas, right? But sometimes it's just me being lazy. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I got a system, right? You know what I mean? But I think if I need to maintain the enthusiasm and love. That's what got me.
That's it. That's what it is.
And I've heard it all. People are like, no matter what, if you do a passion as a job, it never becomes a job. I get that. It is. What I do now is a job. But the passion is still there. You ask me, like I'm a habitual workaholic. Like I don't remember the last time I took a formal vacation. Vacation for me is like a weekend doing Sunday fun day or something, right? But if you ask me, all right, you have a week of doing nothing. What do I do? There will be cars involved, and there will be guns involved.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. Now Now, that makes me dense, I guess.
Maybe. So thinking about that constant search for perfection, the hard work, constantly trying to push yourself to the next limit, where do you see your videos going in the next 5 years? Well, what does that look like for you?
So one thing I have to do, and there's no way around it, if I want to be able to grow, if I want to be able to kind of start flexing the other creative muscle, right? Because I'm not a comedian. However, because I'm an only child and I live in my brain, I'm very observant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where I pull from, and whenever I do like more concept videos, right? I can look at the community to observe the personalities and kind of push towards there. But I have to be in a creative mindset. And so the problem that I deal with sometimes is flipping the switch. So the political side is very analytical, and you can force it, right? You can burn the midnight oil and force the, because it's logic. It's just boom, 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 boom.
Getting those points.
Yeah. But then when you flip creative, you can't force creative.
Nope.
And creative doesn't work well under stress.
No.
Right?
Yeah. Not
So,
at all.
yeah. And the only way I can get to that point is to put myself in a position where I'm relaxing and living life. And a lot of times that's when my business partner comes in, because I can't live and hold the camera. Someone has to take this, right? Famous words of Drake. And I have to be able to live a life in order to then come back and put that in the stuff that I'm creating.
Yeah.
And so if I'm always working, I can't do that. So
Right.
what I have to do is find a way to streamline what I'm already doing well, so that it creates enough time for me to be able to relax, focus, and live life, but then also start bringing in other elements of stuff that I want to do as well.
That's what I was about to say. I think that's like what you would call that lazy period a little bit. You got to give yourself a little bit of a chance to breathe, right?
Yeah,
that
it's important.
rest. And for us, it's that like we go on a sprint where we will stack like 6 weeks of content, right? And then we'll take a little break.
So I've never done that. So that's the thing, and that's what I'm also going to try to start doing but I have to be honest with myself, can I even really do it?
Right.
Because of the political side.
Because
it's more
everything's
current.
coming up. Right.
So like even now, I have people like, I filmed 3 videos before I came out here for the show. And I'm like, all right, good. I was like, I don't have to worry about it in the back of my head. We got them out, they're ready to go. I just released a video today. And then I was skimming through the comments. That's when you came up to me at the table. I was skimming through the comments real quick. And all it is, why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you talking about what's going on in New Mexico? And I'm like,
there isn't a break.
Like, dang,
You can't, on the political stuff, you can't take a break from that. It is not possible.
I mean, you can, but it's going to come with consequences.
It is. You're going to miss a whole lot of stuff.
Right. You're going to be behind,
So that's that. But I'm always of the mindset. I was like, I'll figure it out. That's like my mantra. Like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So before we wrap, if there's anything for people who see the gun stuff, they see the car stuff, people don't know you're an audiophile. You and I have talked about this before. There's all of these different other components to you. What would you want people to know about the real Colion beyond just what they see on their phones, on their computers, on their televisions?
I'm a massive introvert. I think a lot of people misconstrue me for being extroverted. And I know how to be extroverted, but I am a stone cold introvert.
I'm starting to see that as a trend. I mean, some of the most successful content creators are all introverts.
It's not even just content creators. It's
Public
people,
facing,
public facing in
right.
general. It's I'm gonna do this, and then I'm done. Like most people on television.
Oh no,
We're gonna do
listen.
our thing, then you're done.
Listen, yesterday drained me.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is different. I had to make sure I explained this to somebody that asked me. It's like, well, do you do this all the time? I'm like, no.
No, usually you're the one that's
episodes.
I do, and I leave.
Yeah.
I go to the room.
Yeah.
John is out to talking to people. Like, well, where's Sherm? Yeah, Sherm doesn't do this part of it.
Nope. They was asking where was John last night because I was in bed, bro. Like because it's just like it's a brain drain, bro. It's a brain drain.
And even like people always ask me at SHOT Show, and I'm like, a SHOT Show? I go do my booth appearances, and I take my black ass back to my room. And I'm never happy. I'm in my bed. I'm ordering room service. I'm eating breakfast, and I'm like, I'm
relaxing.
I'm just chilling.
That is so me, and John is out. But I think last year you were like, Sherm.
Oh look, I'm
starting to learn.
Listen, man, seriously. I mean, it's because this is so important. You want to be effective.
Yeah.
Right. And the only way you can be effective is to be well rested. In some cases, well read prior to. So there's so much preparation that goes into this. You cannot sacrifice that, for that other stuff. So again, that's where you got to take those breaks. But when you're on, you're on.
Yep.
Yeah,
I did
but
it yesterday.
No, I
went out to eat, and then they all went out. I was like, I really want to go out and have a good time, but I'm like, man, I got a long day tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I think it's really important though to have a degree of separation. In my opinion,
Oh, for sure.
I'm going to do my public facing stuff. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be prevalent. I'm going to be observant. I'm going to talk. Maybe some new deals and relationships may come out of it. But I do think there is something of a mystique to when you're not there. And I think there is a sort of yearning from other people saying, hey, you know, he's here, but he's not.
I mean, I think I'm Black Bruce Wayne, so.
I said, but I think that adds to the mystique, though.
It does.
Like,
It really does.
It's the most childish thing ever, but like, I've always loved that.
I don't know if that's childish. That's actually kind of funny.
Like, yeah, no, I'm like, because I love that contrast of Bruce and Batman.
Yeah,
Like, that was
yeah.
always the thing for me. And so in a lot of ways, I think I kind of try to play that up and live that in my head.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Now I'm not going out in the middle of the night.
Trying to save the world, right?
Right, and a cape and a cowl.
I've just been all the fun stuff that he does.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, there's something to be said about that, creating that level of separation. Because the one thing
absolutely,
about
man.
the social media landscape is we can sometimes feel the tendency to want to overshare or give too much of ourselves to our
And I
audience
do
because
not
it's so
believe in
grassroots.
doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the problem is like if you and I hate to sound cheesy, but like you give so much of yourself, you won't have anything left.
Yeah.
And I know for me personally, I need like people who know me, like I'm very private. I'm a very private person when it comes to like you'll be remiss to hear me talk about anything about my love life, generally speaking, or anything like that in the public. It's not happening. And that's just because some of those things I need to keep to
You
myself.
have to keep them for yourself. As
Yeah,
someone who
man.
spent a lot of time in politics, I would advise you to keep them to yourself. You gotta have certain things of yourself that is not for everybody else. And I think, I mean, you talked about this earlier into the whole doxing thing or whatever, going into your whole family back. Being able to keep things about your life, your friends, other business, other interests. We have a propensity to overshare. And then people wonder why sometimes those things come back to bite you.
Get you in trouble.
Because you put too much out there.
I mean, I recently had to move.
Wow.
Because of
See?
possible safety concerns. Because I was living in, and I'll end on this point because I know we were trying to wrap it up, but you know, I sometimes don't want to post certain things because it's so easy to triangulate. You don't know what your information you're giving out there.
Dude,
You
right?
don't.
And so people being able to say, oh, I know that corner.
I know that area.
I know that area. Exactly.
Yep,
right?
that skyline, all those different things. Yep.
And so I try to keep it as cryptic as possible. But even like I said before, I recently, I went from being rather accessible, like you could just walk up to my front door, to now, like you can't even get to the floor I'm on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that was needed. Now, it was an expensive ass move.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
But
Sure
it just
was.
comes with the territory, things
Yeah.
like that. Like
Now you got peace of mind.
Even to the point now where like I'm like sometimes I am going out with a bodyguard, right? Just as a second pair of eyes to watch out for me whenever I do decide to kind of step out and do some of those things. It's problems I never thought I would ever have, right? But then part of that too just comes with me refusing to leave the city.
Yeah. Well, look, man, I think it's important for people to understand the dynamics of who you are and what comes with it.
Agreed.
But more than anything, I mean, you really have sort of set a standard
Yeah.
for a whole lot of people, man, who look like us. You are, I mean, there are a lot of people who don't look like us, who people look up to.
Oh, 100%.
But it just reminds me of that Michael Jackson man in the mirror thing. Everybody's searching for the man in the mirror that looks like them. And you have become that for a lot of people like us, bro. So we appreciate you, man.
No, 100%.
I say you guys run with what you're doing, man.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Because I think
appreciate
it's
it, bro.
incredibly important. I love it. I love watching it.
Appreciate
truth
it,
be
bro.
told. I still, like we talked about before, we got to figure out a way to
We gotta make it happen.
do something.
We gotta make it
100%.
happen.
Because
100%.
now you gotta stay on me though. You have to. No, I'm serious. You have to.
Y'all
'Cause
heard it.
will-
Y'all
I
heard
will-
him
I will,
say it.
I will forget. I will get lost in work. Like
No, we get it, bro.
Yeah,
Trust
you
me.
gotta,
we
you
get it.
gotta stay on.
So on that same note, if we was to host a shooting competition and you needed to bring a partner on your team, who are you bringing?
Ooh. What kind of shooting competition?
Let's say dynamic shooting, pistol and rifle.
Oh, this is gonna feathers. Lucas.
Whoa!
That
I
is
did
so
not expect that though.
Unfair.
That is
so unfair.
That is. I don't know.
You can say, don't get me wrong. Me and Lucas have had our spats, right?
He's good,
One thing
though.
I am not is a hater.
No,
Right.
he's good behind a
Boy
pistol.
can shoot.
He can. There's no doubt
So
about
we gotta
that.
know not to invite Lucas.
No
offense,
unfair
Lucas.
advantage.
No offense, Lucas. We trying to win, bro.
Unfair advantage.
But,
Colion, this was a pleasure, man.
yeah, absolutely
We
pleasure,
really
bro.
appreciate it,
For real.
bro.
How do I don't know. I don't want, because then I'm going to say it, and then,
Yeah, and then
you
we
won't be
gonna
able
hold
to
it.
execute it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I do think, I'm just fucking going to say it.
Yeah.
I think there's some, I think a reoccurring podcast makes sense. I would
I
think.
can agree with that.
Huh.
I would
I
think
can
so.
absolutely agree with it. And you know, Sharon, we've talked about this.
We have talked
literally
about it.
talked about, and we have so many ideas, and it goes beyond just firearms. Mindset. Mindset is so important right now, and I think between the three of us that we could
Well, one
deliver
of the things we
so
really,
many things.
you know, let's wrap. I don't want this on camera.
Okay, all right.
Colion, it was
Sorry,
a
guys.
pleasure,
No,
bro.
absolutely.
We
Pleasure,
appreciate
bro.
this,
Sir.
man. Proud
Love
of
it.
you, giving you your flowers,
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
John, this was good, man.
Man, this is great. I don't know. I think we enjoyed it more than anybody else.
Probably, hopefully
Yeah.
not
No,
more
it's
than the
like-
people watching.
Yeah, hopefully not, because then we might not come back.
We're not doing our job right.
Right.
Guys,
All
I'm
right,
sure
guys.
Michael Singleton.
And I'm John Keys. Come on, man. If I say that, you say something else.
Let's go.
And that's not that, though, because that's my line.
We'll just use my line, John.
Let's go.
And get some. This is what happens, guys.
is what
Thanks for watching.